What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. So I want to go ahead in this particular video and continue with this series of top 5 brothers in NBA / basketball. All right. Just do a brief recap. At number 5, I had the twins of Horace and Harvey, Horace Grant and Harvey Grant. At number 4, I had the Wilkins brothers, Dominique and Gerald. All right. So at number 3, I'm going old school. And I'm going to include the brothers Al and Dick Mcguire. Now, a lot of you probably don't even know who the hell those guys are. And look, their stats aren't going to blow you away. But basketball was a totally different sport in the 1950s. And generally speaking, guards, especially point guards, their roles were basically to be primarily the setup men. Set the offense, and they weren't really primary scorers. They weren't racking up a lot of assists back then either because of the way the game was played. Scoring was a lot lower, especially before 1954-55, the advent of the shot clock. Then you start seeing assist numbers go up a little bit. But the way that they graded assists were very, very, very conservative in the 1950s. The primary scorers back then were, ironically, the big men. Either your larger, small forwards or your forwards, power forwards, and centers. So I just want to put it out there when you look at the numbers and go, hey, man, that looks like role player numbers. But that's just how the game was back then. And like I said, a lot of teams before the advent of the shot clock in 54-55, you had teams that only were averaging 68, 70 points a game. So scoring was way down. But anyway, of the two players, Dick Mcguire, the older brother, was the more accomplished player. He's in the Hall of Fame as a basketball player. He primarily played with the New York Knicks. He was a 7-time All-Star. In 1951, he was All-NBA second team. So we're going way back. We're going back to the days of George Mikan and Max Zaslavsky, Brad Davies, Joe Fultz, Tom Gola. We're going way back here. You know what I'm saying? Dolph Schayes was young. He led the NBA in assists during the 49-50 season. His number 15 is retired by the New York Knicks. For his career, he averaged 8 points per game, 4.2 rebounds per game, and 5.7 assists per contest. And as an assistant coach with the New York Knicks, he won a championship in 1972-73 with that particular Knicks team going to the finals. Before his career, he played with the Knicks, and then I think he spent maybe a season or two playing with the Detroit Pistons. So he didn't play with exactly what you would call a great team. And he passed away back in 2010 at the age of 84. Now, his younger brother was Al Mcguire. All right. Al Mcguire was not the basketball player that his brother Dick was. Right. His career only lasted about 3 or 4 years. He was a lot more inconsistent. Didn't get as much playing time. And as a consequence, he was traded from the Knicks maybe 2 years after he was drafted by them. He played briefly, and I mean briefly, for the Baltimore Bullets, who should not be confused for the Washington Bullets franchise. Also had 1 year as the Capitol Bullets, also had several years as the Baltimore Bullets themselves. This was not the same franchise. As a matter of fact, this is the same franchise that I believe went to the finals in 1947-48 season, and I believe they won the championship that year. But not too long after this time period, that Baltimore Bullets team folded. But anyway, After Al Mcguire's NBA career came to an end, he focused on coaching. He became an assistant at Dartmouth College from 1955 to 1957, Dartmouth being in New Hampshire. He was an assistant for head coach Doggy Julian. All right. And after 1957, he accepted his first head coaching position at Belmont A.B. College in Belmont, North Carolina. And what he's most remembered for, what he's probably primarily in the Hall of Fame for, is his tenure, his 13-year tenure as head coach at Marquette University in Milwaukee, where he enjoyed tremendous success. That included winning the NIT championship in 1970 and a Final Four appearance in 1974. One of his assistant coaches was a young Rick Mcguire, who would go on to become a great coach in his own right, in particular with, I believe, the University of Utah. Rick Mcguire passed away about 10 years ago. But Al Mcguire was the AP Coach of the Year in 1971, the UPI Coach of the Year in 1971. He won the Henry Iber Award in 1971, and he was the NABC Coach of the Year in 1974. It was in 1977 where Al Mcguire led Marquette to its only NCAA basketball championship. Mcguire's Marquette team beat Dean Smith's North Carolina Tar Heels for the title. And surprisingly, shortly afterwards, Al Mcguire shocked the sports world by retiring. He stepped down as head coach. And after a couple of years in the private sector, he went into broadcasting and became a popular commentator for both NBC Sports and CBS Sports. You probably remember, if you're in your 50s and 60s, you recall Al Mcguire being a commentator for college basketball on CBS back in the 1980s and I think early 1990s, I believe, as well, for NBC Sports. But Al Mcguire is no longer here. He passed away back in 2001 at the age of 72 after a bout with leukemia. And to me, they weren't the high flyers that Dominique and Gerald were. But when you look at the fact that one of the brothers is in the Hall of Fame as a basketball player, the other brother is in the Hall of Fame as a head coach, one of them as an assistant coach won a championship with the Knicks. The other one, as the head coach of a college team, won the NCAA championship. Popular fixtures, especially Al Mcguire for several years, sharing his knowledge of the game of basketball. I don't know how you don't include them in the top 5 list. So anyway, number 3, I have Al and Dick Mcguire. Tell me what you guys think.